Well, thank you, Radhika, and thank you everybody else for this wonderful panel, especially Friends of Socialist China. And of course, it's an honor to have shared the panel with President Dilma, who we I happened to be in when she was first elected, and it's always an inspiring force for all of us in Latin America. Yes, interesting times. I guess that it's part of a new era that is conforming in the world, and that we should look at closely. And eh, I wanted to talk about the relationship with between Venezuela and China in the sense that I think it is precisely uh, very important to look at how there was a jump, very important change in the quality of the relationship between the two countries and what that sort of means for the rest of Latin America and for the times we live in. I wanted to start by saying that Venezuela and China have before, um, but it has really been during the last 23 years of the Bolivarian Revolution under Presidents Hugo Chavez and President Nicolas Maduro that the relationship has taken a very significant turn. Both countries have become comprehensive strategic allies since 2014. And the cooperation between both countries was initially based in hydrocarbons and agriculture, but now has diversified into hundreds of projects in other areas, not only commercial, but in political, technological, scientific, educational, cultural, financial, all that as well. In Just so you get an idea of the importance of this relationship or the level of this relationship. In 2018, Venezuela became part of China's Belt and Road Initiative, and currently, last figures we've had, China imports around 4.9 billion of Venezuelan exports, while Venezuela imports 1.5 billion in Chinese products. With China's help, Venezuela has launched at least 3 satellites, and we still have a strong cooperation in that area. China has also been a key partner in Venezuela for developing projects such as the Orinoco oil belt, uh, and has partnered with us in important social projects as well, including the public housing project that, as you know, has almost built 4 million homes since 2011. And that has been, this is public housing that is available for people of low income so that they can have their own homes and have their right to housing guaranteed. If you look at ECLOC numbers from before the blockade, in 2017, numbers would tell you that Venezuela houses nearly 42% of the Chinese investments in the region during the last decade. We are China's 4th commercial partner in Latin America, while China has been the 2nd commercial partner and the second destiny of Venezuela's oil production. And as of as of 2017, and before all the sanctions came into place and all sort of altered some of the dynamics, we were the world's 7th oil supplier to China. Of course, again, the U.S. has, with its sanctions, has made things more difficult. Trade still exists, but in a far more difficult manner when we have ships that, for example, have been banned from ports because of the sanctions, when we have uh, insurance is twice the cost as it would be before, etc. But the Venezuela-China relationship is still strong. It is very strong now, I would say. It is important because it shows that it's a relationship built on the aim of shared prosperity and mutual respect. Such a relationship is possible in this region of the world. China did not approach Venezuela with the intentions of regime change, but rather that with the intention that both countries have developed, uh, a relationship that is respectful and where there's mutual benefit that is clearly seen. This is a stark contrast with the relationship of dependence that Venezuela used to maintain before 1999 with countries that were stronger larger economies such as the United States or even countries in Europe. This relationship, as well as the current ties with the rest of Latin America and the Caribbean in the last 2 decades, have proven that there is a sustainable and beneficial partnerships outside of the relationship with the United States. And I think that's key for us to understand. And that these are on quite different terms, where the crippling dependence or the intrusion in internal affairs are absent. And I think this is one of the, if anything, is one of the things we must highlight. Of course, at the end of the day, this alters the United States' design for the region, especially at this time where it feels that its superiority is under threat by China's economic, technical, and political strength. We've discussed this already throughout the session. But US intelligence reports point to at least 5 technologies where China is close to surpassing the United States. And recent actions and rhetoric show that the US aims to polarize the world once again into the good and bad, to the democracies and the autocracies, this old you're with me or you're with the terrorist dichotomy that Bush employed, and that was, that comes from even back further during the Cold War. The problem now, however, for the United States is that the new world refuses this bipolar logic, this Cold War logic mentality. There's a new multipolar world that is here. It's not emerging, it's here. We see it, it's present. We see it now more than ever with the recent events in Europe. So although the current crisis in Ukraine, of course, is of a very complex nature, I think we can clearly see that at least one of the aims of the United States in promoting this confrontation was precisely to rally the Atlantic back to its side, as it used to have its influence zone very finely defined. So the US, therefore, is seeking to secure that European support, that Latin American support, not only against Russia, but in the end, against a further confrontation down the road that I think is foreseeable in their terms against China itself. The US, as you all know and mentioned, recently had an attempt of reapproachment, so to speak, by sending a high-level US delegation to Venezuela to discuss, among other things, in the bilateral relations, the role that Venezuela can play in the oil market. And I wanted to say that Venezuela, as you must recall, was a key supplier to the United States, and it wasn't until the Trump administration decided to ban Venezuelan oil imports that such a key trade relationship broke down. It could very well start again, but the key issue is this: it is the United States who needs to make the changes. They must lift the sanctions that they've applied to Venezuela so that production can go back into the market. It was never Venezuela who refused to trade with the United States, but rather it was the Trump administration that took this decision. And I think Venezuela will trade on fair and respectful terms without conditions, under the terms we have agreed upon in OPEC Plus articulation, something that we were responsible for. But we have never been willing to discuss trade in detriment of our partnerships throughout the world, be it Russia, Cuba, China, or any of the other partnerships. So at the time, and this is important because I think that at the time when the US aggression and the pandemic were at its worst for Venezuela, it was China who sent a technical team to help us organize. It was Russia who helped with some of the vaccines. It was Cuba that helped with doctors. It was China who sent, actually the first country that received Chinese vaccines was Venezuela. And we received them when the US, at the same time that the US was blocking Venezuelan accounts in order for us to access the COVAX vaccines from the United Nations mechanism. So therefore, we are well aware of what true cooperation looks like. In these times of conflict and tension, we are happy and proud to be striving toward a socialist horizon. China speaks of socialism with Chinese characteristics, which in a way is similar to what we've defined for ourselves as the Bolivarian socialism of the 21st century. It's one that takes into consideration the history of the people struggles, but adapts to our own current characteristics, our own current reality, We share, therefore, with China, and we are proud to share with China the view that multilateralism must be defended and preserved. We're joined together in the group of countries in defense of the United Nations Charter, which I think is important in a time like this, but we stand up for the principles of maintaining peace, of maintaining diplomacy, of maintaining the purpose that originally founded the United Nations. We believe that peace, like I said, must be sought through diplomatic channels and dialogue, and that the use, and particularly the use of unilateral coercive measures, which are called sanctions by the United States, but they're not. They're really coercive measures that are illegal. They only bring harm and cannot be a tool that can in any way possible lead to peace. China's commitment to respectful cooperation, to the defense of international law, to overcoming poverty and hunger are the values we should defend and promote at a time where we see the return of fascist extremism and violence throughout the world. To close, I just wanted to recall President Hugo Chávez's words in 2010, which I believe are as valid today as they were ever. President Chávez at that time said, "We, China and Venezuela, will never again cease in the efforts to further consolidate every day this unity of brothers and comrades, of two peoples that each day know and love each other more, of two governments strategically allied with one project, one sole vision, a new world of justice, equality, and peace." This, I believe, is the horizon where China is heading. This is what China has shown in its cooperation with Venezuela, and this is what we are going to strive into maintaining and defending for the coming years. We believe that this is the cooperation that is necessary in this new world order that is starting to appear in front of all of us. Thank you very much.